Good. You guys made it. Did anybody follow you?
We're in our homes, on our computers. I don't think that happened.
What is it, John? Why have you called us here?
What I'm about to tell you about may very well change the course of history as we know it. I've been doing some deep digging.
Deep digging. Into what? I don't know if I want to know. Last time we gathered like this, we lost our Minecraft server.
Oh, my diamonds.
This is much bigger, guys, than Notch putting himself into the game as a dead brother. No. This is something that could change the very course of history as we know it. Things we teach in our public schools could change. Our culture. All these things are impacted by the revelations I will bring to light. If I survive, that is.
You're starting to scare me, John.
Listen, I'm more scared. Trust me. Now, I ask again. Did anyone follow you?
Like, from my bed to my computer? Because I think I would have noticed.
Okay, good. Just making sure. Alright, here we go. There's someone out there who, well, he's not who he claims to be. Someone who's played a part in some of the most tragic events in human history and hasn't got caught.
Jeff Bezos?
Well, yes, but actually no. The person I'm talking about isn't exactly a person, but a puppet.
Here we go again.
Listen, I'm serious. Trust me. It goes a lot deeper than you think.
What are we dealing with this time? Another poorly designed puppet that scares little kids? Yawn. I'm falling asleep to this one already.
The culprit is from Sesame Street.
Are you high?
No. Sesame Street taught me not to do drugs. But now, I question everything they've taught me until now.
Can we get on with this? I have to be in an interview for our next production assistant. See if we can get some more hands on deck for our future projects.
Alright. Where to begin? I guess I'll just start from the beginning. Welcome, everybody, to Nighttime. Today, we're going to take a look into something near and dear to my heart. Sesame Street. A show like this needs no introduction, but here I am giving it to you anyway. Ever since its debut in 1969, Sesame Street and its cast of friendly Muppets have been lighting the lives of children and parents all across the globe. To me, there's always been a special magic surrounding the show. I think part of that comes from the fact that the show has never really shied away from teaching children important, yet sometimes depressing, life lessons. Over its more than 50-year history, Sesame Street has covered a variety of issues that most kids' shows steer completely clear of, including autism, homelessness, incarceration, racism, and even death. There's just something so interesting and intriguing about the way the show handles these topics, and many channels here on YouTube have made videos covering them. However, something that you really don't see all too often are videos covering the crazy and sometimes spooky urban legends surrounding the show. So, today, we're going to do just that. Join me as we dive into 7 sometimes creepy Sesame Street urban legends.
Greetings, I am the Count.
Since the character's debut in 1972, many viewers have wondered if the Count was meant to be an actual vampire or just simply inspired by them.
Is the Count a vampire?
While the show's producers have confirmed the Count's appearance and mannerisms are meant to parody the classic Bela Lugosi depiction of Dracula, the character has never explicitly been identified as a vampire in the show.
You're asking if they've ever done a Sesame Street in which the Count kills somebody and then sucks their blood for sustenance?
Yeah.
No, they've never done that.
In recent years, the Count has gone soft and is no more than a strange, friendly old man with a strong obsession with counting. His earlier appearance, however, showed a much more sinister side to him. For example, in the Count's first appearance during the premiere of Sesame Street's 4th season, the Count enters the scene in an exaggerated Bela Lugosi-like pose, accompanied by a sinister organ track. He also shows the ability to temporarily hypnotize Muppets with a wave of his hand in order to get his own way. In addition, Bert and Ernie are clearly fearful of him. For the next few years after the character's debut, some adult audiences were displeased with the Count's appearance on the show, with one letter sent to Sesame Street creator Joan Gans Cooney suggesting that such a character may be poisonous to children. In response to one of these complaints, Deborah November, the then assistant editor at the Sesame Workshop, stated that they have tried to make it very clear that the Count is not meant to be a representative of evil, and is rather just an eccentric individual with a compulsion of counting. For the next few decades, the producers remained rather tight-lipped on the Count's status as a vampire, even going so far as to show the Count in certain situations that seem to confirm the contrary, as certain episodes feature him doing things such as sunbathing and sleeping in a regular bed as opposed to a coffin. This is really where the rumor or urban legend of the Count's vampirism originated from, as people could never really be quite sure of his true status. Ever since the late 2000s though, the show's creators have gradually become more open about the Count's true nature, with one episode featuring the Count reacting rather negatively when offered garlic by a grocery store clerk.
Pass.
Then, in a 2017 Wired video, the Count's vampirism was confirmed by the Count himself.
Is the Count from Sesame Street a vampire? Yes, but I am a vampire with an unquenchable thirst for numbers.
So, as far as I can tell, the Count may look like a scary vampire, but the only blood-related thing he'd want to do to you is to count your blood cells. As many of you hopefully know, HIV is a virus that attacks the cells that help our body fight infection, while AIDS is a disease that HIV progresses to if left untreated. Ever since its detection in 1981, HIV has been the cause of one of humanity's most persistent and deadly epidemics. In several poorer countries of the world, including Africa, HIV's presence has sadly become a fact of life and a problem that won't seem to go away. This is especially true for South Africa, where Sesame Workshop produces Takalami Sesame, the African equivalent of Sesame Street. In 2002, Sesame Workshop formally announced that they would be introducing a HIV/AIDS positive Muppet to the cast of Takalami Sesame. This character, Kami, was designed with an intention to help promote the tolerance and reduce the stigma surrounding those diagnosed with HIV. Kami is a friendly, yet rather shy furry yellow Muppet who contracted the virus as a result of a tainted blood transfusion when she was an infant. Kami also appears in Sesame Square, the Nigerian co-production of Sesame Street. For some reason, the news of Kami's introduction got twisted, and many news reports gave the impression that Sesame Workshop had planned to introduce a HIV-positive character to the American Sesame Street, which, in 2002, was very controversial to say the least. This led to many conservative groups to share their rather harsh and, frankly, stupid opinions. The Traditional Values Coalition, a former American Christian Conservative association, stated on their website, and I quote, "The introduction of a HIV-infected Muppet on Sesame Street is problematic because HIV is spread primarily by homosexuals and bisexuals in the US. It is likely that an HIV-infected Muppet would be used to teach tolerance and acceptance of homosexuals to the preschool Sesame Street audience. In effect, this would be another propaganda tool to normalize homosexuality in our culture." Wow. Talk about your controversial and idiotic opinion. Sure, it might be almost expected that a conservative Christian group would share that opinion. But what might surprise you is the fact that US Congressmen Billy Tuzen, Chip Pickering, Fred Upton, Joe Barton, Cliff Stearns, and Richard Burr actually cautioned PBS against introducing a HIV-infected Muppet to American audiences, stating that Congress could potentially withhold important funding if such a character was introduced. Frankly, I find these opinions and statements to be downright disgusting, and thankfully these would never fly today. However, sadly, many on the planet still share such negative opinions on homosexuality. Despite the reports and depravity, Sesame Workshop never planned on introducing Kami to the famous American street, with the Vice President of International Co-Productions for Sesame Workshop quickly providing damage control to the post. I think there was a big mistake made. Categorically, there are no plans to put this Muppet on the American Sesame Street. I think this story just kinda ran away. Still, I think involving Kami in the American Sesame Street would be a fantastic idea. The character was received very well in the countries that featured her, and representation of HIV is always a good thing. Ever since the characters debuted in 1969, rumors have flooded the waters of Sesame Street that the two characters Bert and Ernie are a homosexual duo who share more than just their bedroom.
Bert and Ernie on Sesame Street, of course, they're roommates, they're best friends, but are they more than that? You know, that is a question that has been debated for decades. The writer has said, I was writing this with this in mind. Here's what the show said, because it came up with a statement saying, even though they're identified as male and possess many human traits and characteristics, they remain puppets and do not have a sexual orientation.
What? But they go against all gay stereotypes. Bert has a unibrow, and neither of them owns a second shirt.
All right, Bert, I'm going to ask you a question. It's got to be asked. Are you and Ernie You know, more than just good friends.
You had to ask that question.
You asked for it, didn't you?
No, sometimes we're not even friends, okay?
This is most definitely the most popular Sesame Street urban legend, and while it's not creepy, it's certainly proved to be one of the longest standing myths or legends surrounding a TV show. Indeed, this has proved quite the controversial question, which Sesame Street's producers, puppeteers, and production companies have continued to shut down again and again. And though they've been acknowledging and denying it since at least the early 90s, countless LGBTQ+ people have used Bert and Ernie as sort of a gay icon. Thankfully, unlike the ridiculous statements made by the US Congressman and the radical Christian group mentioned during Comedy section, there doesn't seem to be anyone with a really strong negative opinion about the two being gay. Rather, there's more a negative outcry about all the statements that Sesame Workshop made that they're not. Especially in recent years, many articles have come out claiming how important and powerful it would be if Sesame would let the two come out of the closet. There has also been quite a lot of parody surrounding the two's sexuality that have appeared in popular media, really solidifying the world's belief that the two are gay. Some of my absolute favorites have been seen on Robot Chicken, Family Guy, and above all, possibly the greatest short film of all time, Ernest and Bertram. The 8-minute short by Peter Spears is loosely based on The Children's Hour, a tragic play by Lillian Hellman about unrequited feelings between two women. The film unabashedly uses a likeness of Bert and Ernie as well as other aspects of Sesame Street, but tells a dark tale involving the revelation that while Ernie has romantic feelings for Bert, the same cannot be said about Bert's feelings for Ernie. The film ends with Ernie tragically taking his own life. It's well worth the watch and is available to watch right here on YouTube. You'll find yourself quoting it for days.
Oh, I feel so goddamn sick and dirty.
The film originally ran at Sundance Film Festival, but was kept from further distribution when its director was hit with a cease and desist order from Sesame Workshop's lawyers, both for its blatant use of their characters as well as the content within. As times have changed, so have the official Sesame Workshop opinions and statements. Just a little under a month ago, current Sesame Workshop president Sherry Weston gave the following statement in regards to Bert and Ernie's sexuality during the 50 Years of Sunny Days documentary special. Someone who used to write for Bert and Ernie, who was gay himself, Mark Saltzman, said, "I always wrote for them as if they were gay. It was sort of a aha moment, like, finally, we know the truth. Bert and Ernie are gay. And I regret how Sesame handled it at the time. Even though they are identified as male characters and possess many human traits and characteristics, they remain puppets and do not have a sexual orientation." And I think by saying that, it almost sounded like it would be something wrong with it if they were gay. If you relate to these characters as gay, that's fine. That's what makes Sesame so special. If you relate to them as not, that's fine. But that denial, if you will, I think was a mistake. So there we have it, straight from the Sesame president herself. If you want to believe that Bert and Ernie are gay, go for it, they are. If not, they're not. It all comes down to interpretation. Personally, I think it's fun to imagine Ernie and Bert as a closeted gay couple, with Ernie in particular harboring secret feelings for Bert like in Ernest and Bertram. In actuality though, I don't believe they were ever actually intended to be gay, and it's just an idea that evolved from a much more accepting climate, which of course is a good thing. In the end, as Sherry said, it all comes down to how you view it. And I think that in itself is very powerful. Though the ending of Ernest and Bertram would have you thinking otherwise, Ernie is very much alive and has remained a staple of the series since its inception over 50 years ago. However, with Jim Henson's death in the early 90s, rumors ran rampant that the producers were going to kill off Ernie in any number of tragedies, including either being hit by a car, being involved in a serious traffic incident, or even contracting leukemia. These rumors stated that Ernie's death would be used to teach children the importance of life and the tragedy of sudden death following that of Jim Henson. Because of the rising prominence of the internet at that time, the rumor mill was truly moving at full speed, and it seems that it all stemmed from an article from the New York Times, which ran with the headline, "Ernie to be retired," on May 18, 1990. Several days later, on May 23rd, CTW's publicity department issued a statement that Ernie was not going to retire, and clarified that the initial story was just a misunderstanding on the New York Times part. Of course, if you know anything about the internet, and boy I hope you do considering you're watching this video, it takes well more than one denial to get into the thick brains of those not willing to do research. As you likely predicted, the rumor became even more widespread when a college student from New Hampshire named Michael Tabor took the then relatively small rumors to heart and made a bunch of Save Ernie beanies for his classmates and convinced all of them to wear it and signed a petition directed at Sesame Workshop to save the character from an untimely demise. They eventually all found out that the rumors were false, but by that time they had already made the headlines and things got officially out of hand. The rumors still persisted well after Steve Whitmire officially took up the role. In an interview several years later, Whitmire spoke to Pittsburgh Post-Gazette to promote the Sesame Street Unpaved campus tour and is quoted as saying, "At first, they weren't sure if Ernie would go on. There was some talk that Ernie might be retired, but we know that Jim didn't want that to happen. So I started doing his voice for toys and records, and it worked into doing the character as well." This of course led some people to believe that they had at least considered killing Ernie off at one point. Despite the fact that Ernie has remained on the show and has made many fresh appearances over the years, I still have personally encountered people who believe he was at least semi-retired from the show after Henson's death. Over the years, there have been many examples of Muppet toys going haywire and saying something overtly creepy. And while we're going to get into some of my favorite examples of that, first we're going to take a look at something more concerning than scary. Over the past few years, 2 Sesame Street episodes in particular have come into question. One from just 2018 and one from all the way back in 1977. A clip from the recent episode 4902 went viral on Reddit, gaining upwards of 119,000 upvotes in a single day. The clip is an excerpt of a conversation between Grover and Rosetta, in which Grover can be heard saying, "That's a fucking excellent idea." I'll play the clip for you. See what you think it says.
Move it to follow you.
Move the camera! Yes! Yes, that sounds like an excellent idea! Alright.
Okay, now that you've all seen it, and I've told you what it says, I'm sure we can all agree that it sounds like our furry pal Grover has just dropped an F-bomb. What Grover is actually saying is, "That sounds like an excellent idea." I'll play the clip for you again.
Move it to follow you.
Move the camera! Yes! Yes, that sounds like an excellent idea! Alright.
To me, once you know what's supposed to be said, it totally ruins the illusion of Grover's F-bomb and proves that this clip is nothing more than our brains being tricked by the art of suggestion. Grover's original performer, the legendary Frank Oz, later posted to Twitter criticizing those who imagine that the performers mess around with the puppets while producing the show. He claimed that they don't, as it would be a portrayal of the character's purity, yet later the next year at the San Diego Comic-Con, a blooper was shown featuring the Count biting Cookie Monster's neck like an actual vampire. Food for thought. It should also be noted that Frank Oz had not been performing Grover in that clip and had nothing to do with the episode in question. Now, for this next clip, I refuse to believe that what's being said isn't an F-bomb. In a clip from 1977's episode 954, Oscar the Grouch's brother Ernest can be heard dropping a hard F-bomb after getting a little sick and tired of Oscar's shit.
I love circles and squids. Fucking sick.
Grouches.
See what I mean? I don't think that could really be interpreted as anything else. This clip was first brought into question in July 2016 when episode 954 surfaced on YouTube. It quickly became a source for discussion on the Muppet fan sites and the very video it originated from. It came to light that the script of the episode in question called for Ernest to say, "I'm getting sick." But if you ask me, the result was something that can't really be disputed.
I love circles and squids. Fucking sick.
Grouches.
This likely comes from the way the episode was edited, with an edit being unfortunately placed right on the moment Ernest says his line. Or maybe performer Jerry Nelson, who also played the mischievous Count, was having a little fun with the show and it ended up being forgot about in a less than thorough edit. I'll let you be the judge. This is where we start digging into some dark and creepy territory. As I mentioned earlier, for one reason or another, there's been a number of Sesame Street merchandise that for one reason or another has gone haywire, and starts repeating dialogue you would never expect from a kid's toy, let alone something from the world's most famous Friendly Street. While that particular Cookie Monster shirt is a more humorous example of this, the same cannot be said about Cookie Monster's good friend Elmo. Over the span of 3 years, 3 separate Elmo toys became the subject of controversy and landed the children and parents of the affected on the news. The 2005 soundbook Potty Time with Elmo became the source of controversy when in January 2006 it was revealed that a number of copies of the book had become defective, and instead of saying the phrase, "let's try and use the potty," the book instead says, "Uh-oh, who wants to die?"
Here's what Elmo is supposed to say.
Let's try and use the potty.
But several books came with this sound instead. Elmo laughs, ha ha ha, and then he says, "Who wants to die?"
Oh, okay. I would probably edit that part out.
This statement was obviously controversial amongst children and parents alike, as the last thing one would expect purchasing an Elmo book would for it to be coming with a patented Sesame Street death threat.
Elmo knows where you live.
Sadly, this would become a running theme. The next year, another Elmo toy, Sing with Elmo's Greatest Hits, had become a cause for concern as several parents had heard the toy sing phrases like, "beat up Elmo," and "rip your fur out," which obviously parents did not particularly take a liking to.
A toy for tots with a bit of a dark side.
But, most egregiously and worryingly, the following year an Elmo Knows Your Name doll had begun tossing direct death threats to its poor 2-year-old owner, James Bowman. James' mother, Melissa Bowman, claimed the doll worked fine until she changed the batteries, which I guess was enough to piss off the furry red fucker. When she gave the toy back to an unsuspecting James, the monster would say nothing but, "Kill James?"
Everyone's going to be talking about this weekend. A mother changes the batteries on her son's talking Elmo doll and is stunned to hear what comes out of its mouth. You will be too.
Kill James? Kill James?
That's right. The Elmo doll is saying, "Kill James." That's the name of the boy who owns the Elmo Knows Your Name doll.
Being 2 years old, James thankfully knew nothing about his favorite toy's true feelings towards him, but his mother sure did, and promptly took it away from him and called Fisher-Price. Of course, Fisher-Price gave the exact same answers they did for the previous 2 cases, stating that it all simply came down to an error in manufacture, and offered Melissa a voucher for a replacement doll. Replacement doll my ass. The last thing I'd want if my Elmo doll started threatening me or my children would be another little terror to keep me up at night. For her and her child's sake, I hope that voucher was never redeemed. Ladies and gentlemen, I regret to inform you that someone we've all grown up to trust, admire, and look up to isn't exactly who he says he is. Someone who we talked about right here in this very video. I'm gonna have to make this quick. I don't know how much time I have before he finds me and shuts me down. Long story short, I found this old website from the 90s, and to put it simply, its contents were shocking. The truth is, Bert is evil. Yes, Bert from Sesame Street is evil, and he's been hurting not only the humble members of Sesame Street, but is the mastermind behind many of the world's greatest disasters. Here's Bert with Hitler, here's Bert at JFK's assassination, and here's Bert with Osama bin Laden. Now, I'm kidding of course. I wouldn't want Sesame Workshop to come after me for saying such slanderous things. Well, one thing's for sure, the website itself is real and is full of fascinating fan fiction of the popular children's character. The famous parody website was created on March 30th, 1997 by Dino Ignacio and was meant to parody the famous children's character by showing him in various photoshopped moments in history and proving him to be jokingly a very menacing person indeed. In 2001, pro-Osama bin Laden protesters started using the image of Osama and Bert together, which almost triggered a lawsuit from Sesame Workshop. In short, forget everything I said and you'll be okay. This whole video was a mistake.
The following is a documented case, an interview with the best buddy of Bert, named Ernie. So how long have you known Bert?
Oh, over 20 years now.
Have you always lived together?
Yes, for as long as I can remember.
How has it been, living with him?
It's been really difficult.
Difficult? Can you elaborate?
Well, you see, Bert kind of has a dual personality. During the show, he's a pushover and very geeky. But when the camera stops rolling, he becomes a raging maniac.
Maniac? How do you mean?
Well, he hurts me and stuff.
Why do you still live with him then?
He says if I leave the apartment, he'll kill me and Rubber Ducky.
He can't possibly be serious.
He is. He's very capable of this. Once, me and Ducky tried to escape. He almost strangled me to death.
Why does he force you to stay?
I think he needs company. You know, when he overdoses and stuff. Also, he likes to touch me.
Here. Please stop crying. Are you okay now?
Yes.
You mentioned overdosing. Overdosing on what?
Bert experiments with all kinds of stuff. LSD, speed, ecstasy, heroin, cocaine, cannabis. He taught me all the names. I hate him most when he's high.
Why?
It's when he's high when he makes me do stuff.
What kind of stuff?
He makes me go to the pitching shed and...
What?
Please, I can't talk anymore. I gotta go.
The interview ended abruptly with Ernie hysterically shaking in tears. We pursued no longer. This soul was already in too much.
See? Bert was a monster this whole time. In fact, all of those puppets are probably harboring some dark secrets.
Thank you, John. Very cool.
Think, Derek, think! If we aren't careful, then we could be messing with forces beyond our control. Bert may try to silence us for what we know.
John, your delusions are...
He needs to get a better computer.
No, I don't think that was his computer. That was Bert.
And John, listen here, buddy. Hold on, I'll be right back.
You will forget everything you know. Or else.
That was, weird. Must have been some sort of glitch.
Yeah, a glitch. What was I talking about again?
I don't remember.
It doesn't matter. I'm gonna go play League. See you guys later.
Yeah, I have a meeting. I'll, see you later, John.
Good night, everyone.